When we think about the job of a prophet, we usually picture someone delivering a powerful divine message, right? But what if I told you that's only half the story? It turns out Islamic scripture points to a fascinating two-part mission that goes way beyond just delivering a speech.
So let's just ask it straight up. What is a prophet's ultimate job? And yeah, your first thought is probably to deliver God's message. And you're not wrong, but you're also not entirely right. That's just the first half. You see, the role goes so much deeper than that. After the message is given, something really crucial happens. The prophet's responsibility actually transforms. It shifts from a job of speaking to a job of observing.
Okay, let's break this down. You can really think of the mission in two distinct roles. First, you have the warner, who, as the name suggests, delivers the divine message and the warning. And then second, you have the witness, whose job is to testify about how the people actually responded to that message. Let's dig into each of these. So first up is the part we're all pretty familiar with, the prophet as a warner. This is the bedrock of their entire mission, the starting point for everything.
In the Quran, the Arabic term for this role is nadir. A warner is someone who's sent to a specific group of people to deliver God's guidance and, this is key, to warn them about what happens if they ignore it.
And get this wasn't some rare special occasion. The Quran makes it crystal clear that this is a universal thing. This verse right here tells us that literally every single community throughout all of history had a warner sent to them. No one was ever left in the dark. Okay, but once that warning has been delivered, once the message is out there, that's when the mission enters its second and arguably more profound phase. Let's look at how that role of warner evolves into the role of a witness. You know, the process itself sounds pretty simple, but the implication is huge. A prophet is sent, they deliver the message, and then boom, once that's done, their role transforms. They aren't just a mail carrier anymore. They become a witness to the whole interaction, watching how their people react. And this is where it gets really deep. The Quran ties this whole concept directly to the Day of Judgment. It poses this really powerful, almost cinematic question, asking us to imagine that day when a witness is brought from every nation, and Prophet Muhammad is brought as a witness over his own people. It's a direct line. The warning on earth leads to a testimony in the hereafter. So what does this testimony actually look like? Well, to help us understand, the Quran gives us this incredibly dramatic example of a prophet being called to the stand, so to speak. I mean, just imagine this scene. God will call Prophet Jesus forward and ask him a direct question about the message he taught. Did you ever tell people to worship you and your mother? It's a direct examination of his performance as a warner. And Jesus' answer? It just perfectly captures this two-part mission. He starts by confirming his role as a warner. He only delivered the exact message he was commanded to give. Then he confirms his second role. While he was living among them, he was a witness over them. And here's the brilliant part. His testimony doesn't actually pass a verdict on anyone. Instead, he completely defers to God's authority. He presents the facts, just like a witness is supposed to, and then leaves the final judgment to the ultimate judge. His mission is perfectly fulfilled. All right, so just to recap, warner, then witness. A clear, two-part mission for every single prophet. Simple enough, right? Well, this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn, because this incredible responsibility isn't just for the prophets. And this is a monumental shift in the narrative, because the duty of bearing witness, this sacred task, gets passed on from a single, chosen individual to an entire community of people. The Quran uses this very specific term, ummah wasat, which basically translates to a just or balanced community. And it gives this community an absolutely incredible job, to be witnesses over all of humanity, while the final prophet, Muhammad, in turn stands as a witness over them. So how in the world does that work? Well, there's a tradition from the prophet that gives us a wild example. On the Day of Judgment, Prophet Noah's people will actually deny that he ever came to warn them. So God will ask Noah, "Do you have a witness?" And Noah will present the community of Prophet Muhammad. They will then step up and testify that yes, Noah did deliver his message. And how would they know? Because the Quran, their sacred text, told them so. Now, as you can imagine, having a shared responsibility like this carries an immense moral weight. It's not a title you just get for free. In fact, it's built on one single, non-negotiable principle. And that principle is justice.
The whole concept hinges on it. To be a witness for God, a community must first be fundamentally just. The source here is emphatic. Without justice, you become a transgressor, and you are completely disqualified from this honored role. This table really lays out the incredible interlocking chain of testimony. You've got the past prophets, like Noah, who testify about their own missions. Then you've got the Muslim community, which testifies that those past prophets did their jobs. And finally, you have Prophet Muhammad, who testifies that his community got the message and understood this huge responsibility. Okay, I know this all sounds very cosmic and otherworldly, right? Like stuff for the far-off day of judgment. But what does it actually mean in practice? How does a community's testimony carry any real weight here and now? Well, there's this amazing story about one of the Prophet's closest companions, Caliph Umar, that brings this right down to earth. He was at a funeral where people were praising the person who had died, and Umar just said, "It is confirmed." Then, at another funeral, people were speaking badly of the person, and again he said, "It is confirmed." When people asked him what he meant, he explained that the Prophet had taught that God accepts the testimony of righteous community members about a person's character. Their collective witness, right here on earth, had a very real and very immediate consequence.
And that really brings us to the final, powerful thought here. The mission starts with a single prophet as a warner and ends with them as a witness. But then that profound duty of being a witness is passed down to an entire community. And so this leaves us with a pretty heavy question. If a community is meant to be a just witness for all of humanity, what does that demand of it and of every person in it in our world today?